Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the John Doyle Show. It is once again a fantastic and, dare I say, wonderful day to be a patriot. You have the Warner Brothers acquisition by Paramount. Again, total buzzer beater. We did not anticipate this. This is one of the biggest Hollywood production studios. It owns everything from Harry Potter to HBO, which HBO, again, is what? Sopranos, Deadwood. I think I remember my parents used to watch a ton of great stuff there. Batman, DC Comics, Cartoon Network, CNN, LOL. Some interesting stuff could happen there. A lot of stuff, right? And you have to understand that, again, I'm not one of these guys who's real into the pop culture stuff. But I will say this is obviously popular for a reason. This is somewhat indicative of the state of the American consumer's mind, their soul even, in the programming that they're choosing to watch. It is far better in the hands of people who are expressly sympathetic to the patriot cause, rather than being allowed to be acquired by people who are obviously subversive and hostile to it, which is why they would want to acquire it in the first place. So you had a case with the Warner Brothers where they were facing immense debt and more or less declining consumer interest throughout the middle part of 2025. And so they were looking at their sort of options, what was on the table there. And of course, other media companies began placing bids to purchase Warner Brothers and their assets, similar to, when Disney purchased Fox, that was in 2018, 2019. So you had formal auctions in towards the end of 2025, and then Paramount and Netflix began a heated battle for ownership of the company. Netflix, notoriously libtarded, obviously, again, Cuties Inc. I have spent so many man hours complaining about them on the internet. You probably have as well, perhaps even watching me complain about them on the internet for hours on end. These are bad hombres, okay? We know that. So ultimately, they prevailed in the bidding war and a merger agreement was announced. Then Paramount, owned by right-wingers and key Trump allies, Larry and David Ellison, began going out on an offensive for all of Warner Brothers Discovery. Lots of factors like total versus partial ownership, stock prices. No need to bore you with the details. The point being, flash forward to the Big 2-6. The only ground that would be fertile enough for something like this to sprout, it had to be in the Big 2-6. After this back and forth bidding war, finally Paramount submitted a final offer that was too good for Warner Brothers to pass up. They made him an offer they couldn't refuse. I don't even know if that has anything to do with Paramount or Warner Brothers, but you know that movie? You know how we're talking about movie studios? So Netflix declined. They cucked. They bent the knee. They were like, no, we've been defeated. We've been bested. So Paramount was announced the total victor. Total Paramount victory. I'm a Paramount bro. I see the mount. Isn't that Paramount? The mountain and then the stars coalesce. It's like the penguin. I see the mountain and I think forward. And then Netflix and every other gay person are behind me like, no, you're crazy. Why would you try to scale the Paramount? You don't get it. So this has been probably one of Hollywood's most dramatic takeover battles in recent years. But it, of course, extends beyond entertainment. It's not just about me thinking I'm going to get to see all my favorite characters on screen at the same time. This is about the political implication because, again, this obviously is a politically informed discussion. Again, we're dealing with libtards. We're dealing with Cuties Inc. And recognizing that this is political in nature, as I guess everything is now, which, I don't even say that I guess everything's, but literally everything is political. The left recognizing this is in total shambles, which is awesome. Democrat politicians are decrying this. They're saying it's an antitrust violation, which of course they would only ever do for politically motivated reasons. They would say absolutely nothing when Netflix was, the main contender. They had, no interest in breaking up antitrust or invoking antitrust laws to break up monopolies. This is literally only because they recognize this to be a threat to their cultural hegemony. And you've got major Hollywood producers lamenting that, Trump influenced this deal, which is true. So kill yourself. Elizabeth Warren, she's saying, a Paramount Skydance Warner Bros. Merger is an antitrust disaster. It's threatening higher prices and fewer choices for American families. Dude, you remember, net neutrality, just like that graphic that we all had to see 1 billion times about how, there's going to be subscriptions for literally everything. You're going to have to pay a subscription just to use Twitter, which I guess now you do have to do, but it's for based reasons. So it's okay. The point is these people are panicking about literally nothing. They're trying to sell their panic, which is a result of them understanding that they are being threatened culturally. And they're trying to sell that in terms of higher prices and American families or whatever. Dude, probably American families would be willing to pay more money for not having their kids just stumble across content that's about sexualizing them and grooming them. That's probably the case. But in any case, So Pocahontas, get it, like a movie, because we're talking about movies. Pocahontas comes out and says, a handful of Trump-aligned billionaires are trying to seize control of what you watch and charge you whatever price they freaking want. With the cloud of corruption looming over Trump's Department of Justice, it'll be up to the American people to speak up and state attorney generals to enforce the law. Okay, sick. Adam Schiff, also rumored homosexual, comes out and says, what was true for Netflix is still true now for freaking Paramount. The merger of two of Hollywood's biggest studios must be subject to the highest levels of scrutiny, free from White House political influence, determine its impact on American jobs, freedom of speech, and the future of one of our nation's greatest exports. I'm Adam Schiff. I'm a rumored homosexual. Okay, literally no one cares. We will continue. Midas Touch, which is an extremely far-left news organization, they say, Netflix has dropped out of the Warner Bros. Discovery bidding, clearing the way for Trump-aligned David Ellison's Paramount to move forward. If the deal goes through, Ellison could take control of CNN, literally hilarious, HBO, probably all like directionally hilarious, and much more amid deep ties between the Ellisons and the Trump White House, blah, blah, blah. Onion person on Twitter, literally like the worst account possibly ever. What should be done to this person simply because of the characters that they choose to place on my timeline on the internet? It would not be safe for me to elaborate upon into a microphone on the internet. But they understand what's going on. They say it's genuinely just completely over. The far right will own all the media space and use it explicitly for their propaganda for the next century. Yeah, like that, but like yes, like that, but like epic. Right-wing propaganda, I understand that sometimes like that can exist when we really lean into it. All this means is that media is going to stop being deliberately subverted. We're going to stop lying to people and trying to inundate them with like just completely disordered propaganda. And we like you and me specifically have discussed at length why the conservative movement is incapable of creating culture. We all know that. You just don't overthink it. Just tell the truth. It will be right-wing by nature of that. So that is all that's happening. We will once again tell the truth about Courage the Cowardly Dog, about Harry Potter, about all of these other things. So it's going to be fine. So yeah, you should enjoy that. Enjoy your media, enjoy your bread and circuses. Okay, I know people are trying to guilt you for that. Don't. Indulge a little bit. But also scour social media and you will see this. You will see leftists defeated and demoralized, literally killing themselves because Trump allies are now owning pop culture. We are winning. We gave up on our little stint in Hollywood. We gave up on trying to make freaking movies. Now we are just going to buy the people who make movies and tell them, hey, cut it out with the gay stuff. And then just like that, we have the American Golden Age. So it's not a done deal. Obviously, there are forces of defense that are mobilized. California politicians apparently are trying to stop this from happening. But things are basically looking good. It's basically okay to celebrate. It's basically okay to enjoy your experience in the Big 2-6. We are all passengers to our shared fates. And isn't it fun?